What's up guys, Crypto here and welcome back to a brand new video. Do you like my t-shirt? My mum got it for me. There's a pretty good chance you might have heard of airdrops. They're all the rage these days and it's something I wanted to talk about for a wee while now. It's something that's only really rose to attention in the last, but they actually have quite an old history in the cryptocurrency sphere. So I'm going to start real basic here and talk about what an airdrop actually is. I think the word's kind of changed its meaning in recent times, and it's something that also gets pretty confused with a fork, because in recent times both of these things have kind of meant the same thing due to the method that the airdroppers will choose. Originally an airdrop was a way to distribute the coins evenly amongst a group of people who were interested in having them. They put in some sort of request, you know, it really depends on the type of coin, but they would say, hey, I would like a share of the coins, and they provide an address for the coins to be sent to, and then they would receive them. It was a distribution model based around equal opportunity, and while Bitcoin kind of set out to do the same with, you know, a Bitcoin miner, this means of distribution was a lot more simple and could let almost anyone take part. These days an airdrop generally means a fork. Forks, ironically, used to be dreaded in the crypto and altcoin sphere because it meant you had a network split, and that could be risky if you were sending transactions and found yourself on the wrong chain. But these days a fork is generally used intentionally for a network split to happen. Basically a fork happens when part of the network decides to go off and record its own versions of transactions and records. The main difference here, in my opinion, is that it's not entirely equal. You need to have a stake on the original network to get a share of the new coins. For me, it doesn't entirely hold the same philosophy and idealism as an original airdrop had, but they're still kind of fun because, you know, who doesn't like free coins, you know? Where did airdropping kind of begin? Probably one of the first airdrops ever was a coin called Aurora. In 2014 it was created by someone or a group of people who went under the name Odinson. Around that time Iceland, which was where they were based, had a pretty major economic collapse, and Aurora coin decided to try and become a nationally accepted currency there, and this is kind of where the first airdrop ever took place. Basically they offered the coins to anyone who was a citizen of Iceland, and they just had to fill in some forms like or use their national ID number. It received quite a lot of attention at the time from news outlets. I think the main reason for that was that they were trying to challenge the banking establishment there. It was kind of a medium success at the time, although the coin doesn't really operate these days and I haven't really seen anything from it in a while. I think a lot of people at the time kind of dismissed the idea of the airdrop because if the coin is free to get, then there's no like base cost. You know, for example with Bitcoin, it costs a certain amount to mine a whole Bitcoin, so that's why there's kind of a minimum price, otherwise miners would stop mining it. After that there weren't a lot of airdrops for the next few years or so. Of course there were like a few coins that done bounties and giveaways and stuff, but nothing that ever kind of reached the same sort of attention as Aurora coin did in the past. I think the next kind of crucial moment that's brought about the sort of forks and airdrops we see today was upon the launch of the Whisk platform. Now these days Whisk is a hugely successful blockchain and project, but it actually originated from another project called Crypti. Basically two of the developers from Crypti left the project and launched Whisk. It was quite uncommon at the time for developers to jump ship like that and purposely fork a coin, and basically what they offered to Crypti holders was a one-to-one swap for Whisk. At the time Crypti was trading about 500 to 700 satoshis, so it was incredibly cheap if you compare it to the current price of Whisk. Obviously in this case it wasn't entirely free, and it wasn't really classed as a fork or an airdrop because Whisk were hosting an ICO and you still had to kind of invest the crypto into the project. But I think that was a point where the thinking around distribution changed a little, and after that it has to be the DAO hack, which really changed everything. It's pretty rare for a coin team to completely fall out and argue and end up splitting the network in two, especially when at the time Ethereum was and still is the second biggest cryptocurrency. But I think it was the first time that a fork happened where there were two really strong opposing ideas and opinions. It worked out pretty great for regular investors and such, because it meant that they got coins on each of the two ongoing networks, and it meant that a lot of people profited really well. And I think that was the point where it clicked for a lot of people, because they're like, airdrops slash forks make money literally out of thin air. I think after that it became a lot more common, and we began to see things such as the Gigabyte distribution method, which involved either holding Bitcoin or the Gigabyte currency and receiving Gigabyte every month. And also XRB was kind of similar, you know, Rayblock, which were essentially free, although I would say that the time it took you to get the coins kind of made it not really free. I think what really triggered the mainstream adoption of forks and coin splits was the Bitcoin Cash fork. Again, we had two really strongly opposing ideologies, and it resulted in a split of Bitcoin, you know, the main currency. And once again, that was really profitable for people, you know. I sold Bitcoin Cash at $1,000 each, which was pretty mad, to be honest, considering it was made entirely out of thin air. And I think this is where the kind of one-to-one airdrop swaps for new chains and stuff really took place. You know, since then we've seen things like Z Classic and also, you know, Ardor and NXT with a bunch more planning or having scheduled ones. Are they worth the hassle? As I said earlier, I think the coins that have had the most success with airdrops are the ones where there's been two really strongly opposing people or opinions or groups, and each of them obviously wants their version of the coin to do well, so they prop up the market, they develop things, they create a lot of activity and stir around it, and that basically allows the investors to profit. But these days we're seeing people just forking for the sake of it. You can't just create free money out of nowhere and expect someone to pay for it. It's taking a lot longer for a coin that's recently forked to become a coin in its own right, and if you do happen to receive coins, free coins, the best strategy might be to hold it for a year. And these days we're seeing it being used as a way to create price action. A lot of the coins that have recently had airdrop forks slash snapshots have made crazy pumps only to come straight back down as soon as the snapshot is complete, which makes it really bad news if you planned on holding the coin, and it kind of sucks a lot of money instantly out of the market, which isn't good for investors of any size. All in all, you know, I'm in favor of having airdrops. It shows that a lot of people care about things and want to make sure that their visions get across. And you know, it can't hurt to have more people working on a project to try and make it a success. I think it's also a bad idea to chase airdrops, you know. After Bitcoin Cash you've seen Bitcoin Gold, which was alright, but then after that you've got all kinds of nonsense like Big Bitcoin and Bitcoin Diamond, which, you know, really have no future at all. If you chase airdrops, you're gonna lose money. There isn't really a right way to play an airdrop if you're holding the coin that's being used for the airdrop. Traditionally, people kind of thought that if you sell before it, that's the best way to make some profit. However, if you look at the Ethereum Classic fork, that didn't really work out too well either. And actually, the price just kept going down in the lead up to the fork. So it's really just a case-by-case basis and just doing the best you can. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Remember to follow me on Twitter and keep an eye out for a video in the next week. And I will see you next time. Bye.